Front Street Fights is back with Front Street Fights 28 on March 29th. Coming up to us quick, we're going to break down the card a bit today with our matchmaker Veta Arteaga. I want to start off with this main event, this bantamweight fight between Tyson Nam and Mark Coates. That's a lot of experience coming into the cage with us that night. Tyson Nam, his last 8 fights were in the UFC. He's got a knockout win over Osborne. He's got a TKO win over Rivera. He's been fighting for a long time with that 21-14 record, fighting since 2006. And really excited to see how he bounces back from that split decision loss he's coming off of. Looking back to get into the win column against Mark Coates. Mark Coates, you just told me something really interesting I didn't know about him. He's an Idaho boy. Yes. That's amazing. Yes. And on his record, he's got a decision loss to current champ Sean O'Malley. Yeah. That's impressive. He's on a 2-fight win streak. His last loss was a split decision in Bellator. Great event there. And 8 of his wins come by way of submission. It's going to be interesting to see how his submission game matches up with Tyson's kickboxing game. It's a real old school striker versus grappler here. How'd this one come together?
Tyson reached out to me on social media and asked, how would you like to have me on your card? And I said, oh, we would love to have you on our card. However, I don't know if we can afford you. And he said, oh, I just want to get back in there. And so I want to help as much as I can all the fighters, whatever their goal is. So we were able to find a reasonable pay for him, and then also his opponent, same. It kind of just aligned and worked out, and they were the first ones to sign their contract. So wow. It was great.
That's amazing. What a great main event. And I think it says a lot for a 8-time UFC vet to reach out to you and say, I want to fight for you. Yeah. That's fantastic. Co-main event, excited for this one. We have featherweight women's division. We got Riley Martinez, 3-0, taking on Ramona Pascal, also a UFC vet.
Yes.
Riley Martinez is on a tear. She's 3-0. All of her wins have been very decisive finishes, including her last win, a finish in Invicta. And she's a big hometown favorite. I assume the crowd's going to go nuts for this one. Pascal, veteran, she's been around for a while. Again, her last 3 fights were in the UFC, and she represents a really strong team in Syndicate MMA.
Yes.
Down in Vegas with tons of UFC alumni other than herself. How'd you get this one together? This is exciting.
Yes, Riley had reached out to me as well and asked if she would be able to be fighting on Front Street Fights, and I told her, let me see what I can do. Made some phone calls and was able to get her on the card. And yeah, I'm excited to have Ramona on the card, like how you just mentioned earlier, having 2 UFC vets on the card. Yeah, that's exciting.
That is really exciting. And the co-main and the main back-to-back, that's fantastic. Just shows kind of the scale that's growing from Front Street Fights. Moving into the last fight on the pro card is a welterweight fight. Both fighters are making their pro debut. What a big event for both these guys. Anthony Castro, he's undefeated as an amateur, and only one of those 5 fights went the distance. He does have a strong boxing and wrestling background that he has definitely showcased in his fights in the past. But his opponent, Nick Johnson, although he's 0-0, he's a jiu-jitsu black belt.
Yes.
He's well-versed in competition, has a strong grappling pedigree, and he comes from a fantastic team in Extreme Couture down in Vegas. I'm excited for these guys to make their debut. Do you remember making your pro fight debut and what that was like?
Yes.
Is it nerve-wracking?
Yes. But exciting. Because you know you get paid this time.
You know you get paid. Yeah, that's the big difference. Yep. One of these guys is going to notch that first win on their pro card. Kicking off our amateur card is a fantastic matchup in the lightweight division. We have 2 undefeated fighters, Almir El Calamar Talek, 4-0. Taking on Logan Taylor, 2-0. Both these guys obviously undefeated. What's even more interesting is neither one of these guys has made it out of the first round. All first round finishes for both these guys. So we're going to find out who's going to get their first loss, who's going to continue their undefeated streak, and are either of these guys going to make it past the first round. What can you tell us about how this fight came together?
Almir had reached out to me at the beginning of the month, and he had asked me if he can get on the next Front Street card, and I was trying to find him an opponent, and it was kind of hard to find him an opponent. And my assistant Rebecca, she came across Logan's gym, and she's mentioned that I reach out to them, and I did, and it worked out, and Logan had all his stuff done.
Wow.
So yeah, they've been both very professional to work with, Almir and Logan. So yeah, I'm excited for this fight.
Fantastic. So almost professional, not just in skill, but in how they handle themselves. That's fantastic. Our next fight in the amateur card is a welterweight bout featuring returning Lane Dalton and Elliot Maccabee. Lane was last with us on Front Street Fights 26, where he had a 12-second knockout. I'm excited to see that power come back. Of course, he comes with that rich boxing family down in Emmett, along with a strong wrestling pedigree. And he takes on Elliot Maccabee. He's 1-0, but his win also came by first round, first minute finish. How did this one come together, Veta?
Lane had reached out to me saying that he wanted to stay active. Well, his coach reached out to me saying that he wanted to stay active. And so I was trying to find him an opponent. Last time Lane was on Front Street Fight 26, he was at 205. This time he's returning at 170. Wow. So Elliot just fought not too long ago, came out clean like you just said, won in the first round. So he was healthy to come back and make a quick turnaround. So I offered it to him, and now here we are.
Fantastic. He comes from a Kajikembo background, which is an interesting hybrid that I'm excited to see how that translates into the cage. Our next fight on the amateur card is a women's flyweight match featuring two returning Front Street Fights alumni, including Shar Rush, who's 1-1. She was last seen on Front Street Fights 25, where she showed off some incredible ground and pound finish. And she's also a competitive super fight grappler. She takes on Jessica Knight, another grappler herself, who is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and she was last seen making her debut at Front Street Fights 27, just our last card, where she fought to a split decision win. I am highlighting this one as an action-packed fight on our amateur card that I'm really looking forward to. How'd this one come together? I am excited about this.
Yeah, same here. I'm very excited for this fight. I'm always rooting for the ladies. But this fight came about, Jessica was eager to get back in the ring, in the cage, and I was trying to find her an opponent and just wasn't having that much luck. And Shar's schedule was she was uncertain about if she was going to be able to do it or not. And yeah, I want to say at the beginning of the month is when they signed their contract. So it seems like it's going to be working out great. So they're both very high-level grapplers, so I'm excited for this fight.
Me too. I'm excited for this one. I've circled it as our potential match of the night. Kicking off our amateur card is Jose Landa versus Dominic Stoff, 1-0 fighter versus a debut fighter. What do you know about these guys? How'd this come together?
Jose, Pepe, he just fought not too long ago, and he's just eager to get back in there, so he reached out to me asking if there was any space on the amateur portion for Front Street Fights 28. And so I started looking, and Dominic comes from the Pit, and the gym's name is the Pit, and their head coach reached out to me, and I've worked with some of their fighters from previous shows, and yeah, it seemed like a good fit and a good matchup, so I'm excited for both of those fighters.
Me too. I think these guys are going to kick off a great amateur card. Again, top to bottom, another fantastic card by our matchmaker, Veta Arteaga. Join us March 29th for Front Street Fights 28.